and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, cause you know the truth, and the truth is love, yes it is. Wasn't what they said to you, or anything that you learn from a book or from the news. It's not like that, cause it's a thing. It is something that you do. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Dib on baby did long. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Dib on baby did love's the highest truth. Nothing could be higher than love, my friend.
Welcome to the Bassline, everyone. Dr. Trinh, based in Sydney, Australia, is a highly experienced general physician. She is another courageous doctor on the right side of history who was persecuted for fulfilling her oath and successfully treating her patients. Instead of being commended, which is what she deserved, the corrupt system came after her for her so-called unauthorized use of ivermectin. All the way from Sydney, Australia, where it is 3 a.m. right now, I am so honored to have with us on the Bassline this afternoon in New York, the remarkable Dr. Trinh. How are you this afternoon for me and middle of the night for you, Dr. Trinh? How are you holding up in the middle of the night over there?
It's early in the morning. Yes, I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's such an honor. And, I'm so sorry to disrupt your sleep in this manner. It's, sleep is such a wonderful thing. But your story is such an important story. And the situation in Australia has been such a dire one in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the whole world was changed in so many different ways as a result of the announcement of global pandemic and all the subsequent policies and the vaccine mandates, et cetera, et cetera. But Australia appeared to be almost a testing ground for some of the worst of what was seen in the so-called developed world. I don't even want to try to recapitulate some of the various things that I remember seeing on media and social media, but there was an indication that Australia got a lot of the worst of the totalitarianism that was made manifest as a result of COVID policies. Could you give us, before we get into your very incredible situation, can you give us an overview of what you experienced as an Australian citizen in the past 4 years?
Yes. When the pandemic was declared in March of 2020, literally just overnight, our whole society changed. Our world changed just overnight. So when lockdown was declared, people were locked down in their homes. They weren't allowed to go anywhere except for buying food. There was a curfew, and only certain people who are considered essential workers are allowed to work. The schools were closed. Churches were closed. So people, literally people have been locked in their homes, and depends on state to state. I'm in New South Wales, and in New South Wales we were in lockdown, but we weren't as bad as some of the other states. But still, we were in lockdown in periods of two months at a time, 2 months, and then there's a period of relief, and then we get locked down again. And so in total, we were in lockdown for a period of 7 months. And during this period, it's really challenging for a lot of people because, they have to deal with their kids, being at home. People can't really, shops and restaurants were closed. People can't make a living. And there's just a lot of, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of there's just a lot of changes in people's life besides the fact that people can't do what they normally do. There's a lot of fear of the disease, and the threats of the disease, because the government keep during this period sort of tell people how many cases are infected every day, how many deaths occurring every day in which area. So there's this constant
Barrage.
bombardment of information, just driving fear concerning the actual infection. So people living in, I guess, fear, threat, dramatic changes in their life that they can't control. And people were forced to wear masks, and if they don't, there's a situation where the police use force to enforce these mandates, these mask requirement, and certain policies that people were not prepared to do. People weren't allowed to go to the beach. There's just so many restrictions on people's lives that they're not used to. I guess it's like, for me, I came from, I was born in Cambodia, and lived there just before the Khmer Rouge came.
Wow.
And I lived in Vietnam during the period of communism. I lived under communism for about 3 years. So these sort of environment, with these experiences that I've had before, it's very similar to what I've experienced during the lockdown. It brings that sense of a lot of oppression and control by the government on the people, and there's it's just people's freedom, and it's been attacked, and it's how do I say, it's an experience that you just lost so much control, and there's so much of your sense of who you are has been, your liberty's been taken away, and you just don't know how to react to this situation. It's just a very stressful situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, so many people had really important work that they were doing in their lives completely uprooted, interrupted in such an unreasonable way. It sounds very similar to what we experienced here, and like you said, it's also similar here in terms of it varied very much state by state. I also would love to, before we get into your very dramatic situation that you've been faced with, one other thing I'd like to discuss, which is relevant actually to what you're experiencing and what you've experienced, but this whole discussion around ivermectin, this award-winning drug, this Nobel Peace Prize-winning therapeutic intervention, or however you would refer to it. Apparently it's used to treat any number of things. It's affordable, it's well-known, it's been used safely for many years, and then it became this target. It seems to be, completely, bizarre in a sense that you would go after an effective drug that's been proven to be safe and effective, et cetera, but I don't know how the legality of things were in Australia, but in the United States, the fake vaccines, as I call them, the products falsely marketed as vaccines, were only authorized because there were no other alternatives, basically. They were saying, there's nothing we can do. We need to rush through the regulatory process. The vaccine, the magical rush to market vaccines are our only hope. And to justify that, they needed to demonize first hydroxychloroquine and then ivermectin. But My question for you, and just basically give us a great overview and rundown in terms of your opinions about ivermectin, but particularly in terms of ivermectin in treating COVID patients, because one thing that's really confusing is it seems that both sides keep claiming slam dunk game over. I keep hearing people saying, look, this is the proof that we've been waiting for. Ivermectin has clearly saved lives. There's no more debate about it. And just when I thought that that was true, then other people say there's zero evidence ivermectin has saved anyone or that ivermectin is useful in treating COVID at all. I just see both sides claiming 100% total victory. And I'm kind of confused. Where do we stand in terms of the evidence as it pertains to ivermectin in COVID treatment?
Okay, so ivermectin really, it's like you said, it's a wonderful drug. It's known as a miracle drug. So it was found in the early 1970s, 1973 by a Japanese microbiologist, and it was later developed with Merck Sharp and Dohme. And it was released, it was used in animals in 1981, and it went on to be used in human in 1987. So it's been around for 30 to 40 years. It was a very successful drug in treating animals, horses against worms, etc. But in humans, it's been it's been used for many diseases that had significant impact on humanity. People in Africa, in Asia, where there's some infection associated with parasites, etc. So there's a condition in Africa called river blindness, and this disease causes literally blindness in people, but a large proportion of the population in West Africa, about 50% of men, were infected with these parasites, and the ivermectin was able to cure this disease. So the drug ivermectin became a drug that resulted in a huge benefit in people in this community, and it's been used for a long, long time. The other condition is elephantiasis, and so this disease causes swelling of the connective tissue in the skin, in the limbs, as a result of parasites in the lymph nodes and in the lymphatic system, and ivermectin cures that disease. So it's a very beneficial drug, and it has a huge impact on the lives of many people over many decades. And it's a highly, highly safe medication. It's safer than Panadol or aspirin, and it's an essential medication on the WHO list of medication as well. So, and as you said, it's won a Nobel Prize by the discoverers, and so this drug has been available to humanity and to animals for close 4 decades, and it's highly, highly safe. Now, when COVID came along, we have to go back to, I want people to think back to SARS-CoV-1 when that first came about in 2003. When that came, the initial infection killed many people, many doctors in the front line. But later on, we were able to treat the condition with hydroxychloroquine, and that was known to be effective for SARS-CoV-1. And later on, in people who's got cytokine storm associated with SARS-CoV-1, they were successfully treated with steroids. Now, SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2 are similar. So when SARS-CoV-2 came along, of course, people had to search for therapeutics as doctors. I mean, you have a disease that is novel, it's new, and we don't know what's available that we could use to treat. And it's a natural thing to search for the best treatment or the most likely available therapeutics. And so initially we had HCQ that was used and it was available for physician, and it was used successfully. I saw results from the Chinese, from China, and people were treated with HCQ and got better. But in I think late 2020, there was evidence, there was research that came from Monash. There's a researcher by the name of Kylie Wagstaff, and her work has shown that ivermectin in the petri dish was able to inhibit the growth of SARS-CoV-2 in 48 hours. And so that was a very exciting thing because, the safety aspect of ivermectin is very well known for a long, long time. So when that research came about, there was an excitement in the research community on using ivermectin for treating SARS-CoV-2. And really, the research with the use of ivermectin was demonstrated that it was effective. There's a professor in Australia, a very famous professor, Professor Brody, who designed the treatment of peptic ulcer using triple therapy, a combination of proton pump inhibitor, antibiotics, and another medication I can't remember. But it was he basically using a multiple medication for treatment of disease, and he's very well known. And basically, as a result of his research and drug development, we were able to eradicate peptic ulcer, which the underlying cause was found out to be a bacterial cause. So when SARS-CoV-2 came along, Dr. Barodi designed a protocol, and it's called a triple therapy protocol using ivermectin, doxycycline, and zinc. And this protocol was demonstrated to be highly, highly effective. And this information was available very early in the pandemic. Professor Barodi said that the treatment using the triple therapy was going to be a cure for SARS-CoV-2. And his research demonstrated that you can prevent the infection you can prevent hospitalization in 97% of the cases. And in those who were treated early receive early treatment, which is if they receive treatment within the first 5 days, even if they get hospitalized, there's no fatality. So there's no one's going to die as a result if you use the therapy early. So there's, over the course of time, there were more and more research in using ivermectin, and majority of those research demonstrated that ivermectin was highly effective against SARS-CoV-2. There was conflicting researches concerning ivermectin, but many of those studies was as a result of was demonstrated to be ineffective purely because of the poor study design, and maybe manipulation of the study, of the design of the study in a way to demonstrate that it was ineffective. But really, evidence is indisputable that ivermectin works for SARS-CoV-2.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Sorry?
I was saying that makes a lot of sense in terms of your explanation and everything you just said.
Yes. So there's a great deal of suppression of information that comes out to the public and even to the medical community. And there's also the force going against ivermectin. There's people who work really hard, I guess, to demonstrate that ivermectin doesn't work. So there's a battle between, I guess, good and evil, just to cause confusion in this, associated with ivermectin. And I guess this is a really important drug in the sense that if you, like you said earlier, if there's a therapeutic, there's actually not going to be a vaccine. So the law concerning a new product like the vaccine to get approved under the EUA, you have to. The requirement is that there's no therapeutics for the disease. So if there is even a hint that there's something that is effective against that disease, then the vaccine would not be approved for the emergency use authorization. So ivermectin is a great threat to the approval for the vaccine. So there's a lot of forces out there from pharmaceutical company, from big institution, corporation, etc., who's got interest, financial interest in the vaccine, working against ivermectin.
Makes sense. I mean, when there's profit to be made hand over fist, you don't want a little snafu like ivermectin getting in the way when there's so much profit to be made. And your situation, which is just such a distressing situation to hear about as somebody who's not the target of it. Even I can only imagine what you've been through. And I mean, one of the goals of this program is this particular episode of this program, I should say, episode 41 of the Bassline, is I would really like to start just generating an atmosphere of support for Dr. Trinh here, because Dr. Trinh strikes me as a person who is just a courageous person and is a good person and was simply doing good in a very straightforward sense of doing good work and doing her job as a doctor. She's not a person who's seeking out the limelight that I've noticed whatsoever. You're not a person who has, referenced any sort of ideological stuff. You're a doctor, and you were attacked for doing your job and doing your job well. And I would just like the medical freedom community to be aware of Dr. Trinh. Follow her on Twitter, please. That's MYLE, last name TRINH. Dr. Trinh, look her up on Twitter. Please follow her. And just, as you become aware in this next segment of her story, let's spread the word. Because when they come after our people, they should know they can't do that and get away with it. They should know that we have each other's backs. So, I would like the medical freedom community, as well as we can, to rally around Dr. Trinh. But what have you been through, Dr. Trinh? It seems just beyond unreasonable what you've been subjected to. And they basically had a problem with you using ivermectin successfully. What else did they try to throw in there? What did they trump up to try to accuse you of anything when your track record was a stellar one, from all that I understand?
Yes, I have been through a lot, and it's been very distressing. However, it is what it is, and I learned to deal with it. When the pandemic came, I was fortunate enough to be aware of a lot of things that we now know to be true, right? That the virus wasn't as bad as that, that they told us to be, that they made it to be. It was treatable, etc. So when I first came at the beginning of the pandemic, I, as a doctor, the first thing I wanted to do was to find out a treatment that works for my patient, in case I have a patient that with severe COVID infection, that I was going to be able to treat them. I wanted to know whether there's any preventative treatment available, and I wasn't, in alignment with the push for the vaccine. I was fortunate enough to know the work of Dr. McCullough very early and follow him very early on. And before the rollout of the vaccine in Australia, Dr. McCullough already formed the opinion that that the vaccine had presented with a safety signal that is very alarming to him, and he formed the conclusion that no one should be receiving the vaccine, even the elderly people. So if the disease is treatable, as a doctor, what you want to do is to find out how to treat it, and that's what I did. So I joined a group called the COVID Medical Network Group, and there were a lot of doctors in the group, and we basically discuss and learn how to treat COVID-19. And so I landed with my first patient in August of 21, and as it turned out, she was quite severely ill by the time she came to see me. Now, when I said came to see me, she didn't really come to see me, but she actually contacted me by phone, because what happened is that during that period of in Australia, there's certain area that has high incidence of COVID-19. So these people get locked down. So there's what we call LGA areas, so the local government area, where because of the higher incidence of COVID, they get locked down. They can't leave their house. They can't leave the area where they live, more than 5 kilometer radius, and if they have COVID-19, they can't leave their home. So what happened is these people, if they come down with the infection, they got nowhere of getting help. They can't leave their home, which means they can't see any doctors, and the only way that they can deal with it is that to wait until they either get better themselves, or if they get worse, they then call an ambulance or present to the hospital. So this patient, interestingly, had been to the hospital, was diagnosed with COVID, but she wasn't being treated with anything at all. She was isolated in a room, and yet she was still required to wear a mask. And she decided to discharge against medical advice because she wasn't getting treatment and her family was not able to visit her. So she went home, and over a course of several days, got progressively worse. And by the time I was contacted, she was quite ill, and I said to her that that she should present herself to the hospital because her oxygen saturation was quite low in the low 80s. So she basically didn't want to go back to the hospital. She said that she'd rather die at home rather than die in a hospital. And she didn't want to be away from her family because in the way the hospital could control, due to the infectiveness of COVID-19, what the hospital did was that their policy was that if you have COVID-19, your family members cannot visit you. So, and it's true that if she were to die in hospital, she won't be able to see her children before she dies. And that's all very realistic. So she wanted me to treat her at home, and that's what I did. I gave her the triple therapy, gave her various medication, vitamins, etc., and she got progressively worse. So I had to use steroids to treat her. And she responded very well, and over a course of several weeks, she progressively got better. And however, she started to develop some side effects, and so she had to seek help. But by then, she got over her COVID-19 infection, so she was able to see her local doctor. But later, I found that she presented to hospital with, various issues, and I won't discuss that. But what happened is that as a result of her being, as a result of the hospital system aware that I was using ivermectin, they reported me to the health regulators. Now, what's really, really concerning to me was that a second complaint was made against me, and this second complaint seems to be a bogus complaint, and it was presented through this. It was made online through the same portal system of reporting. On the same days, just hours apart, and the allegation with the second complaint was just it was just a lie. It was a total lie. It accused me of promoting the alternate treatment of ivermectin on an online forum. It calls me an anti-vaxxer, and it alleges that I how do I say it knew that I had prescribed specific number of script for ivermectin, etc. And so it presented to the health regulators, and as a result of it, I was investigated. Now, normally, if you can't identify the person who made a complaint, then complaints as such would be considered vexatious and wouldn't be investigated. But in my case, it was investigated as if it was a real complaint, and I was interrogated over a course of quite a number of hours, and as a result of that, as a result of that interview, they made a decision that I am a danger to the public, and that they have to suspend me immediately. And so that happened in October of 21. And since then, I have not been able to work. And I've been fighting the legal system ever since. Practically most of my time is focused on fighting my case. Now, many of my colleagues that are in similar situation, it appears that those who are wanting to help people and treat people or talk about therapeutics on social media are the ones that being persecuted. Are the ones that got picked up by the system and being persecuted. And many of my friends, many of those colleagues decided to not fight the legal battle because it's hard and stressful. But for me, I made a decision not to retreat, but to fight and to show that it was wrong, because I wanted the people to know that what happened to me was very wrong. The way I was treated, the way the system attacked me for what I did, because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't harmed anyone. The patient that I treated that ended up going to a hospital, she would have died had she gone to the hospital. And the reason why I say that is that the hospital, with cases that as severe as her coming to the hospital, how the hospital treat is that they would mechanically ventilate them, and they give them a course of remdesivir and a very low dose of steroid. And this protocol would invariably result in death, because if you're in cytokine storm that's severe, you will not survive with that protocol. And remdesivir does not work for SARS-CoV-2. In fact, it actually causes renal failure, heart failure, multi-organ failure, and many people died as a result of remdesivir. They're not being cured with the remdesivir. So knowing that she could possibly die going through the system, I can't do that to her. I mean, I can't not treat her when she made a decision not to go to the hospital. So I did what I could to treat her, and I've done that successfully, and I shouldn't be punished for doing my job well.
Right. I mean, are they in some way trying to blame you for her decision to not go to the hospital? I almost it's so confusing in a sense. Like, okay, lady does her job very well. Let's persecute her. It still makes zero sense. Like, I mean, have you received any support in terms of, in Australia, are there people aware of the injustice that's being imposed upon you? Has there been any bit of an outcry? Is there any rallying of support for you on the ground over there?
No, it's been really hard. I mean, people are aware of my plight, but in a way, they can't really help me, in a sense that I have to go through the legal system, and I really I've been fighting really hard. So the course of the legal system is slow and is expensive. My insurance company refused to support me through the legal battle, so I had to use my savings, and I had to borrow money in order to fight the legal fight. So I've, I took it sort of a very different course in the way that I fought my case. Rather than fighting for my specific situation, I decided to fight on legislation. And the reason why I did that is that the system had abused the legislation. So the medical council have misinterpreted, or to me, did not interpret the legislation in the way that they should have. And so as a result, we were suspended for a prolonged period, and that period of dragging the process is in a way unjustified. And the law state that when you suspend someone, you have a requirement, or at least the medical council had a requirement to refer me to a hearing, to a tribunal for a hearing. So that was the fight that I fighting the legislation, hoping that if I win, that the whole situation would change, and it wouldn't happen again. So it's a risk I took, and it took me almost 2.5 years to take all the way to the Court of Appeal, which is the highest court in the state. But unfortunately, I lost my case, and I still didn't. I believe that I should have won the case, because the reason why I fought this case was that there was a judgment that was released in 2022, where a doctor was suspended, and during that judgment, the 3 Court of Appeal have made a statement concerning this particular legislation that I'm challenging. And these 3 judges had explained how that legislation should have been interpreted. And that was the case that I took on to fight. And so the judges, the 3 judges that presided over my case, went against the decision of 3 judges in the previous case. Now, to me, that is really bizarre, and I have spoken to other lawyers who were not involved in my case, who commented that it was a very unusual thing that the 3 judges in my case had ruled completely different from the case in the previous case. So, I lost, and I'm okay with that. To fight this battle is hard, because you're fighting with forces that are very powerful, that have a lot of resources. They have control of many things that that I cannot anticipate. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay to keep on fighting, and I'm okay to lose. So during the process of me fighting the medical council on the legislation, the other government body called the Healthcare Complaints Commission, or short, the HCCC, they decided to prosecute me. And my understanding is that the reason why they did that was because of my decision to fight the medical council in the Court of Appeal.
Wow.
And the reason why is that if they referred me, so the legislation I was fighting for was for them to refer me to the tribunal for a hearing. And that's the process where it gives the doctor the right to defend themselves before the tribunal. And that was deprived of us. Without that, we don't have any rights to fight. And we've got to go to a different system, which is not the same thing. Well, a different path, which is not the same thing, a legal path, yeah. So when I decided to go to the Court of Appeal, they then referred me. So in a way, I sort of forced them to do that. But it's not, for the HCCC to refer me to tribunal through prosecution, they have to have legitimate reason to do that. I have to have harmed people. I have to be, done something very wrong to do that. But this is my belief that in my case, they did that because I went to the Court of Appeal. And in order to not allowing me to set precedent in the case, had I won, I would have set precedent. So in order to not allow me to set precedent in my case, they have to have had referred me before I had the hearing. And that's exactly what happened. They referred me before the hearing. So because I've lost, I then now have to deal with this matter that's before me now, where the HCCC have referred me to the tribunal, and I have to deal with the allegation of professional misconduct. So basically, they're trying to demonstrate that I have practiced below standard concerning numerous cases, and as a result, they're going to try to demonstrate professional misconduct. And if they can't do that, then they can cancel my license. So currently, they're seeking to cancel my license for 3 to 5 years, and also seeking to make me pay for the prosecution hearing as well.
That is just outrageous.
Yeah, and what's very disturbing is that those cases that have turned into complaints, they allege that they put a case that there's 6 or 7, I can't even remember how many, 6 or 7 cases of complaints against me. But these are not complaints from patient. None of the patient, I had no patient making complaint against me. And even with the other patient that turned up in hospital, she didn't make a complaint against me. So those information that was known to the health regulator concerning that patient, and the other patient that I prescribed ivermectin for, that was that they're aware of, they took the medical files from the medical center and used those medical notes and turn it into a complaint, and that is what I'm facing now. Allegation of practicing below standard, and I have to answer to them.
Wow. And when does that begin?
So that has already begun. That actually began the end of last year, but because I was unwell, I was able to have that adjourned. But they now push the hearing ahead. And even though I had a valid medical certificate, they still advance the hearing forward. So the hearing is going to be in the middle of July. And because I initially decided to handle this case on my own, fighting it by myself without legal representation. But because I haven't been well enough to do that, and they're pushing the hearing ahead, I'm seeking to get legal representation,
Right.
And deal with the hearing.
Well, I hope you succeed in doing so. We're near the end of our program, everyone. The phone number, of course, is 888-874-4888, 888-874-4888. We might be able to sneak in a quick phone call. I know we didn't get to go to calls last week. I also want to mention, in regard to last week, our esteemed guest, Dr. James Thorpe, just completed a book with the great Celia Farber. It's called Sacrifice: How the Deadliest Vaccine in History Targeted the Most Vulnerable. So let's keep an eye out for that. Please buy that if you can, forward it. It seems like a very powerful work. Dr. Thorpe, obviously very passionate, very experienced. Dr. Trinh, I know you've spoken out against the novel injections, the mRNA shots, I don't like to call them vaccines. They don't seem to have functioned very effectively as a vaccine. Could you give us your take on the effects of these products? And my kind of running question, which I'm honestly very curious about as I see various harms and injuries being inflicted as a result of these shots, I'm wondering how so many people have received them and say that they're feeling fine up until now. Of course, a lot of people aren't feeling fine. And then there's also people who have various medical problems or injuries, and they may well be vaccine related, but people don't mentally make the association. They think, oh, well, it could never be the vaccine. It must be genetic, environmental, whatever the case may be. But what's your take in terms of a person's ability to receive one of these shots and not have their health affected in a negative way? Is that possible? And what have you seen in terms of general harm as we wrap up here in the last few minutes of the show?
Yeah. So we're dealing with a novel technology that hadn't been used before. I think that there was studies in the past early on concerning the gene therapy technology, and that went really, really badly. But in terms of this technology being used in mass population, it's never been done before. The spike protein is the most toxic substance to the human body. And so having an mRNA technology that is telling your cells to produce a spike protein, it's a principle that it's so wrong. How can you make your cells to produce a toxic substance for your body and believing that that's gonna fix the disease? It doesn't make any sense at all. And to have your cells make the spike protein, when is it going to switch off? I mean, you're asking your body to make the spike protein, but when is it going to switch off?
Right.
So it's we're playing with something that has not use in a therapeutic scale in this proportion to a large population.
Right.
So it's a very dangerous technology to me. So when like you're talking about people who received the vaccine and it's still okay. I mean, we've only had people using this vaccine for the last 3-4 years, right?
No long-term data.
Yes. So, I mean, so if they are safe in the immediate term, in the short term, that's great. But what about the long-term side effects? We don't know yet,
Right.
because we're still in an experimental phase, right?
Absolutely.
But so far with the data that we have, it's been shown that this is one of the is the vaccine that had the most side effects,
Right.
And very deadly side effects. So we have people with complication with myocarditis, stroke, heart attack, clots, numerous. I mean, the list of side effects just horrendous.
Yeah, some people have said the widest side effects profile of any medication in history.
Yep.
Dr.
And
Trinh, if you don't mind, we actually have one caller on the line. Do you mind if we take a quick
sure.
call? We have Mohammed from New York. Could you be, I hate to suppress you in any way, my brother, but could you be pretty concise here, because we are at the end of the program?
Okay, no problem, Jeremiah. Am I on?
Yes, you're on. You're on. You're on. Speak
Jeremiah,
up.
very wonderful show.
Thank you.
And we salute that doctor for her efforts, and just let us know if we can help in any kind of way, because I really admire what she's doing, and I think your whole audience, listeners, do also. Thank you very much, Ms. I forgot your name, but just let us know if we can help in any kind of way.
That's Dr.
Thank you,
Trinh.
Jeremiah. Wonderful show.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. So, yeah, that's a great way to
you.
close the show. What can we do to support you, Dr. Trinh? I mean, of course, this is a legal battle, as you said. I mean, unless someone's actually a lawyer who's, licensed to practice law in Australia, they can't exactly help you in the courtroom. But what can we do? I mean, like I said, first of all, please follow her on Twitter. I know a lot of you guys may think, I'm not really into Twitter. You can. I'm not telling you what to do, but you can organize your Twitter account in a way that is very educational for you, and you can support people who are doing really good things. But what can we do, Dr. Trinh?
Yes. Well, like you say, follow me on Twitter. Having a large following is important, because it just share my story and my situation. And this helps to raise awareness for my case. I am fighting in court, and I'm seeking legal advice, and I'm hoping that my insurance company will support me in this case. But I do need financial support, because I haven't been working for close to 3 years now. Wow. And I've used up a lot of my savings, so I do need financial support. So I will be. I really hesitate to ask financial support from the public, and I was very reluctant to put
I understand, but everyone needs a friend every now and again, and you certainly deserve support for what you've been through, and it's very beyond unreasonable what you've experienced. So, folks, we're out of time, unfortunately. I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Trinh. We really commend you. You are on the right side of history. I believe that you will be acknowledged for your courage, and I believe things will work out in the end. So please stay spiritually strong, stay psychologically strong, and please stay in touch, and please stay connected with the medical freedom community that I think will rally around you as people become aware of your situation.
Thank you, Jeremiah, for your support. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity to come on your show.
My pleasure. Everyone have a great weekend. Please subscribe to my Substack. Please, spread the word about this program. We have a lot of great guests lined up. We are not quitting anytime soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Peace.